now it's time for us to discuss more of these headlines in simple keywords with Adam joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Lena. Happy Hump Day.
Happy Wednesday to you too. All right, let's get started. We're going to try to clarify these major headlines for our listeners, and this is our first pick of the day.
Joint statement.
So Korea and Saudi Arabia have adopted a joint statement during President Yoon's state visit to the Arab nation. It seems to be large in scope and scale. What does the statement entail?
Right, so I'm just going to boil it down to the kind of key agreements or deals or pledges that they made. The statement, interestingly, was actually the first by both countries in 43 years. So it's been a while since they updated their last one. Now, the two sides agreed to continue to deepen and advance the future-oriented strategic partnership. It included promises of cooperation in major Saudi projects, such as the Neom megacity. It further noted that the two sides will deepen their collaboration on various Saudi Vision 2030 infrastructure and tourism developments. The two countries also pledged to expand their cooperation in the manufacturing sector and enhance cooperation in the fields of advanced industries. The statement also welcomed that trade volume between the two sides has increased 400-fold, and that trade has significantly increased since diplomatic relations were established. Now, the two sides agreed to actively explore the expansion of mutual investments in areas including the hydrogen economy, smart cities, future mobility, as well as startups. They also vowed to enhance cooperation and coordination in the fields of defense. And they also signed what's called the Hydrogen Oasis Initiative, or H2 Oasis for short, with the aim to strengthen partnership and support project developments in clean hydrogen. The statement also jointly condemned the targeting of civilians in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. They expressed their commitment to delivering humanitarian assistance to civilian victims. The statement also emphasized maintaining the stability of global oil markets. Of course, Saudi Arabia does have a big stake and say when it does come to oil production and subsequently prices as well. Now, concluding his state visit to Saudi Arabia, President Yoon attended the Forum Future Investment Initiative, which is also dubbed the Davos in the Desert. Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman actually personally drove Yoon to the event. It seemed like it was a Mercedes-Benz that he was driven in, but he did express his wish that maybe next time it could be a Korean-made Hyundai or Kia electric vehicle or an EV to transport him around next time. Now, in a speech, Yoon promoted Korea's appeal as an investment and business partner for the Middle East. Again, trying to stay good by his self-proclaimed Korean salesman title that he gave himself. Now, Yoon is now in Doha, Qatar for another state visit that will mainly focus on expanding economic ties. He'll be meeting with the leader of Qatar as well as attend various business forums along with the business delegation that's accompanying him. So we'll have updates on that coming up in the future.
Lots of takeaways, but a lot of room for future collaboration, but also Saudi's rare agreement to work with the international community to help civilians in the Gaza Strip. That's unforeseen. But the President Yoon has promised to vouch for that, and it seems that he successfully did so. And this is while the death toll climbs in Gaza as we speak. Israel said it struck more than 400 targets in the past 24 hours, and we're still waiting on that impending ground assault as preluded by Israel. All right, let's move on to our second keyword of the day.
Restricted living.
So Korea's Justice Ministry has drafted a new bill that restricts sex offenders from choosing where they want to live. Now, it seems like it wouldn't be applied to all sex offenders, but those who are at most high risk of reoffending. Can you tell us the details?
That's right. So the government was very clear in the sense that it was high-risk sex offenders that will be subject to this revision of the law, if it passes, that is. Now, these restrictions would prevent high-risk sex offenders from residing within a certain distance of locations such as schools, for example. This concept is similar to Jessica's law that they have in the United States. The only difference is that the revision mandates that high-risk sex offenders live in state-run facilities rather than just keeping a boundary from these victims or these vulnerable places. Now, the legislation also seeks to expand the use of chemical castration for sexual offenders who are considered high risk. This proposal has faced some debate and controversy, particularly in relation to the restrictions on, individual freedoms and human rights. The ministry has emphasized that these measures are intended to target specific high-risk sexual offenders who pose a serious threat to public safety. Now, the bill defines high-risk sex offenders as anyone who committed a sex crime against a person under the age of 13 or has 3 or more sex crimes and was sentenced to 10 or more years in prison and ordered to wear an electric anklet upon release. Now, the legislation is currently under consideration and may involve further debates, revisions, and discussions about its impact on civil liberties. The law currently will apply to 325 high-risk sex offenders in Korea if it does pass, and there are going to be more additions in the next few years. But of course, it does need to pass the National Assembly first. There does seem to be kind of an overwhelming kind of public consensus on the sense that these specifically high-risk sex offenders should be prohibited in their public activities, as well as where they live as well, to try and stop reoffending happening. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But yes, it's certainly a stricter law that has been devised right now.
All right, we move on to our third keyword of the day.
Sea border crossing.
So a small boat carrying suspected defectors from North Korea has been detained after it crossed into the South's waters. How many people do we have the fuller scope of the story, or are they just beginning the investigation process?
Yeah, so we're kind of lacking a little bit of details at the moment. We only know that the South Korean side has detained this boat and the defectors, or suspected defectors, on board. The vessel was detected on South Korea's side of the northern limit line, the maritime boundary of the two Koreas, specifically in waters east of Sokcho. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said the 4 people on board were presumed to have defected from North Korea. The group consists of 1 man and 3 women. They are believed to be part of the same family. Now, authorities did not release further details about the 4 North Koreans. Now, there are conflicting reports on whether they did express their intentions to defect. Some say they did. Other reports say they didn't. Yonhap, though, reported that the individuals did not express their intent to defect, but only asked where they were when they were caught and remarked on how nice the fishing boat that found them was. Now, they weren't armed and they didn't wear any military uniforms when they were found, so it appears that there weren't any hostile intent. So it does seem that they were just ordinary North Korean civilians. Seoul says an investigation is underway. That's usually a procedure that happens when the South does find North Koreans straying into the South. Now, defecting by sea is a much more dangerous means, and many North Korean escapees were believed to have ended up dying after their boats sank amid bad weather. So it is a kind of a risky route that potential defectors take, but still some do opt to use the sea route because they can defect in a group and it takes a much shorter time than the usual China Southeast Asian route. Now, if they are determined to be genuine defectors, it would be actually the second case of North Koreans fleeing to the south by sea this year. So it's not a frequent event, but not that rare at the same time. So we'll have to get the latest updates if they are genuine defectors. But of course, this process does take a few weeks, a month, sometimes even longer. So we'll get more details by then. Yes.
All right. Let's move on to our fourth keyword of the day.
Business Forum.
So an annual conference of South Korean business leaders from around the world has kicked off in Suwon, the 27th Okta. Tell us more about the event.
That's right. It is a a peculiar name. Don't know whether to pronounce it Okta or AKTA. Yeah, it's a bit strange that one. But it's not the first event that's happened. It's actually the 27th edition, actually. So I think we'll just have to get used to it. Now, the focus basically, sorry.
No, go on, go on.
Yeah, the focus is to basically establish a global network and facilitate the expansion of domestic small and medium-sized enterprises into international markets. This year's conference brings business leaders from 67 countries. Attendees also include domestic SME owners, lawmakers, as well as government officials and representatives from related economic organizations and institutes. The total attendance is about 1,000 people, similar to the last conference that happened, which was held in Seoul, actually. Now, the conference features a range of programs such as export consultations and trade shows and other events. The inaugural ceremony featured congratulatory speeches and award presentations. The conference is conducted regularly in both spring and autumn. Of course, during the pandemic, it was on hold during then. Now, its goal is to basically contribute to enhancing the capabilities of Korean business leaders and strengthen the country's competitive edge. And this year's conference specifically focused more towards the SMEs, so that the up and coming companies of the country. And of course, there are SMEs that are run overseas by Korean business leaders as well. So it's trying to give them some support, and it's basically a networking session, just very large in scale, with a lot of speeches by a lot of top government officials happening. So. Yes, we'll have to see if any other deals or what support measures the government has for them.
In case our listeners are hearing about it for the first time, OCTA stands for Overseas Korean Traders Association. So it makes sense that you would bring SME leaders from across the world.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
All right, let's move on to our final keyword of the day.
Putin healthy.
So it's not the first time there's been an accusation of autocrats having body doubles or have fallen ill. For example, the Kremlin has denied the latest rumor that Vladimir Putin is ill. That followed reports that he suffered a heart attack over the weekend. So what's the latest, Adam?
Yeah, I actually got this alert yesterday as well, and I was not that surprised because I didn't really believe it that much.
You're skeptical, weren't you?
I was skeptical. I did take it with a huge grain of salt. But yes, it does turn out, according to the Kremlin anyway, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov saying everything is fine with the Russian leader. And his words was, "This is absolutely another fake." And now he stated that the president is in good health and dismissed claims of him falling ill, calling them an absurd hoax. There has been actually long-standing speculation that Putin uses body doubles to stand in for him at public engagements for health or security reasons. There's been speculation surrounding his health overall as well. It's not the first time this has happened, and he's not the kind of only leader of, let's say, an adversary of the West that has these rumors surrounding him. Kim Jong-un has had a similar speculation surrounding him as well. Now, Peskov, was reported to have laughed in response to a further question about body doubles and denied that Putin had any. Now, Putin does maintain an intensive schedule, according to Moscow, of meetings and public appearances, many of them televised as well. His recent program included a visit to China last week, of course, at a two-day forum in Beijing, marking the 10th anniversary of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Locally or domestically in Russia, he was also seen meeting a government official, member of his cabinet, showing that he was still actively engaged in his duty. So the Kremlin certainly putting out the pictures and images, kind of laughing off the reports that he did suffer a cardiac arrest and that he was resuscitated as well. But yes, it seems like, according to Moscow anyway, those rumors have been put to rest.
You're right to say that, again, just like health concerns and rumors around Kim Jong-un, autocrats having body doubles or having health issues, they're rather popular conspiracy theories, and maybe it's just a censorship that surrounds these kind of leaderships. But it seems pundits agree that there's insufficient evidence for us to make these conclusions.
That's certainly right. So yes, I mean, the keen eye will show that Putin is moving about live
And he looks
in
like
public,
Putin.
and he looks like Putin. So yes, I think a keen eye could see differences or similarities if doubles were used. But yes, these are often reports that do come out, usually from kind of opposition news
Mm,
outlets
mm,
or those critical of the leadership in Russia or North Korea, for that matter,
mm,
against these autocrats. But yes, I mean, it seems like Putin is well and is still alive and healthy in power,
mm,
and that he may be so for the time being anyway.
mm. The source this time seems to be General SVM channel, which apparently regularly alleges Putin is
Mhm.
terminally ill with cancer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Anna, for today's coverage. Have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
You're very welcome. See you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.